afternoon, Mercy. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, Celeste. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I would like to thank you for allowing me to interview you today. I just want to go over the interview a little bit. The purpose of the interview is to showcase how an individual's environment influences their work ethic as well as their work career. So, could you introduce yourself just a little bit?
Certainly. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona in 1951. However, my ancestry goes back to at least 1850s. My family at that time, some of them migrated from Mexico. Well, actually, Mexico migrated into my family. But the influence with Yaqui Indian on my mother's side and Spanish, and on my father's side it's Tarahumara Indian and Mexican. So I'm from the Southwest region. I was born here in Phoenix. I've lived in Phoenix and spent my formative years, my early developmental years in Phoenix. Particularly in the 1960s is when I grew up. I graduated from high school in 1969, and I had my family in the 70s here. So I continued to live in the same place, but have had times where I go away from home and see other places and do other things.
So, Mercy, how would you define work? And what I mean by that is, why do you work, and do you feel like it is beneficial, and has it helped you be successful in life?
First of all, my biggest concept of work is not the word itself, work, because I believe instead of instances like homework, it should be home play. There should be joy in what you do. It's not work, it's play. You should follow your bliss in what you want to do, because I think that if you're going to be working all of your life, and we all work because we like to eat, we like having a home, we like clothing, and we like all the other extra stuff too. But those are the essentials, and we do have to work for those things. Once those issues are met, there is work. So we develop, particularly in my family, a work ethic that is given to us by working with our parents or grandparents. In my instance, for instance, my very first job, I was probably 4 or 5, and my job was to milk the cows. 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the evening. I made a quarter for milking the cows. There weren't a lot of cows, but enough to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because they do like to be milked on a regular basis. No matter what, those cows needed to be milked. So I had to learn that no matter what, I needed to fulfill my commitment. Work is a commitment. So when you're looking for a career or a job, first of all, find what makes you the happiest. If it's juggling, juggle. If it's, running races, then run races. Whatever makes you happy, because more than likely, you're going to want to do this the rest of your life. Because when you do what you love, work is not work. Work is play.
Now, I know you mentioned you grew up in the 60s and actually graduated in the later 60s. Do you feel that the change in eras at the time had an influence on what career field you went into?
Actually, what was going on in the 60s was so massive that it really reflected the rest of my life. There were things happening on global levels, for instance, the man's flight to the moon, and things that affected me personally as a woman, like Roe versus Wade regarding abortion. Civil rights. I had the opportunity to walk in protest with Cesar Chavez and got to know a little bit about his philosophy. Yes, there was so much. And it started in the early 60s. And by the 70s, the early 70s, America had made its statement. I was kind of a 1960s hippie type person. They called us tree huggers. Hell no, we won't go. Burn your bras, ladies. That didn't work for me because those are quick fixes to big problems. So I had the tendency of working in service to other people, not as a job. I was fortunate enough to do that as a job later, but because that's where my passion led me. So Yes, the 60s defined who I am and what I do today. Now, I don't work well with other adults, so towards the end of my career, I am retired now, I have opened my own businesses. And since I don't like to be told who to talk to, who not to talk to, where to go, follow office rules, dress up Fridays, whatever, I did start my own businesses. And so I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm also an advocate for those people who can't speak their own voice, who don't have either the strength, the courage, or other resources so that they can be freed from injustices.
What did you dream about becoming when you were younger? And do you think society had a view if you strayed away from that?
Yes, society does have a view, particularly the culture within the society. And coming from a Hispanic and minority culture, I was told things like in high school that, for instance, one of my passions was design. I could sew clothes by the time I was 6. So I liked making and designing clothing, but my high school guidance counselor in my freshman year told me, "Oh no, you can't do that. That's a man's job." The law interested me. "Oh no, only men go into the law field." Architecture, all of these male-dominated roles were denied to me. And the sad part of it is not that they were denied to me. The sad part was that I believed what they told me at an impressionable age. As I grew older, I know now you cannot put limits on your knowledge, you cannot put limits on your experience, and you cannot put limits on yourself. So those are the kinds of things that reflected where I was growing up and how it affected me and my community.
Would you say that your career path would be different if you grew up in another environment or era?
Oh yes. In my Hispanic culture, women went from their father's home to their husband's home. They didn't go away to school. You either got married and had a bunch of babies, or you became a nun, neither of which were my choice. So if I had been born, perhaps, with my thought, my mentality, my drive, my passion, in an era that accommodated that, I think that would certainly influence what I did and how I did it in my lifetime. The struggle, I believe, would be a lot less.
Well, I would like to thank you for allowing me to interview you today. It was really interesting hearing your perspective on your work career and how your environment really influenced your career work field.
Celeste, I appreciate you asking, and I think that to sum it all up, I would like to say, in the words of John Lennon, all I'm saying is, man, give peace a chance.